Welcome to Let's Chat Finance Season 2 by Home Buyer Centre. Here are some snippets from the episode.
We're passionate at Stockland about creating places that are more than just where people live.
There is also a great opportunity to purchase somewhere with a great lifestyle that provides potential growth opportunity and live there as well. You can actually have it all if you're willing to look at different locations.
When you're on a budget, give careful consideration to what's available in the master plan communities when you're looking at block sizes. So a smaller block with a clever design can really help you get into the market.
Welcome back to Let's Chat Finance by Home Buyer Centre. I'm your host Tash, and today we're talking about all things location and why it matters. I've got Summer, Tyler and Scott with me today. Summer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Thank you for having me. My name is Summer Liston. I am a development director at Stockland. So at Stockland, we're one of Australia's leading property developers. We've been around for over 70 years, operating nationally. For me, I work in the Victorian business, so I'm a development director of our East community, which is made up of over 8 communities. I lead a team of about 18 people. You know, in Victoria alone, last financial year, we delivered over 3,000 lots. So, yeah, it's a big business down here in Victoria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And in the East specifically, it was nearly 1,000 on its own. And we work closely with home buyers and ABN.
Great to be back, Tash. Thanks for having me. I've been in the industry for over 10 years, a lot of that as a frontline sales consultant working directly with customers. But at the moment, I'm the state sales manager for Victoria for Home Buyer Centre.
Amazing. And you're Victoria? And
Victoria.
Scott, we've got you here from WA.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tash. It's Scott Watson. I'm the state sales manager for Home Buyer Centre in WA. 10 years as well in the industry, both as a consultant with clients and also in management roles. I actually had my first build as a 22-year-old many years ago with Home Buyer Centre, and I've had plenty of experience as a client as well, building and selling homes before I started in the industry.
I love that you built first and then you came and got a job at Home Buyer Centre later.
Yeah, quite a few years later, but it was a good experience. So
Stockland has a lot of master planned communities across Victoria and WA. What makes these communities stand out?
We're passionate at Stockland about creating places that are more than just where people live. So it's about creating communities where people can thrive, they can work, they can play and live. And what sets that apart is great thought and planning in the beginning of these communities' life cycles. So we consider all of, from start to finish, the amenities surrounding the schools, the education, the parks. It's more than just the home.
Tyler, when customers come to you, which of these features is most important to them?
Yeah, so a big one in Victoria especially is access to transport, access to freeways or upcoming public transport especially. But something that's becoming more and more important, I think, as time goes on, is having a sense of community in the development that they're looking in. So is there going to be future sporting teams? Is there going to be future childcare perhaps and schools, etc.? And really being able to work, live and play in the one area and the one community is becoming more and more important.
How do people find that information? Is that something you can help them with, Summer?
Absolutely. It's all about location, but it's not about thinking about what is there right now. It's about planning for the future too, because a lot of the time there are upcoming future amenity that is planned for the communities. And so, you know, it depends on the person, on what they're after and what they're looking for as to whether they're wanting to buy now and consider what's there already or looking towards the future too.
Scott, is it the same in WA? People care about sporting teams and transport, or are they considering different things?
yeah, very much the same sort of requirements. But I think in Western Australia, the coastal proximity has been a big driver. So in the growth corridors in Perth, you know, clients really very lucky that they can join a community that's right close to the beach. And so that's been a huge drive for people in Perth when considering a master plan estate.
Summer, how do you try and include these things into your plans? Like, there's a lot to consider if it's transport and near the beach and we want a footy team and we want all of this stuff, schools, childcare centres, works. How do you prioritise those things and how do you even pick what goes in one?
Yeah, the growth areas have a lot of future amenity planned. So it is, again, back to that location, and Stockland makes a concerted effort to try to purchase land that we can develop that has that future use. But then it's about also creating the community that sets it apart. So connecting people, the neighbours together through a host of events, through places that they can come and share and utilise together.
Yeah, I'm definitely a bit biased to the coast as someone who's from Perth, so I always look for how far away am I from the beach, but there's lots of other things to consider, like parks and nature things as well.
Yeah. Education is a big one that people do look for, where their children can go to school, primary schools, high schools, and a lot of the growth areas do have that in their plans.
Summer, how do you incorporate lifestyle features into your communities to appeal to families and investors alike?
Yeah, so it's about thoughtful planning. So at Stockland, we design every community with livability in mind. So Stockland, we actually complete a livability survey every year. So we send it out to our residents and understand more about them as to what they're enjoying and what we could better improve, which helps us set us apart.
What kind of questions are on that survey? Is it like, how long does it take you to get to work? Is that part of livability?
I mean, not as pointed to that, but yeah, it does talk about transport. It talks about how much they are connecting with their community. They talk about how they're enjoying living within the community and how connected they are to the other residents.
Infrastructure is really important as well, and it can really change the growth story of a suburb. Can you share some examples of projects that have unlocked value for homeowners?
Yeah, of course. We're actually sitting in a community right now. So at Evergreen, we've got plenty of plans here and also amenity that's already been delivered. So we're sitting just off Patterson Roads. It's been upgraded since we purchased this land and started this community. We've got transport links, we've got schools, we've got childcare. There's a Coles just popping up next door. So it's all coming to life now here at Evergreen.
Yeah. And there's a lovely cafe I've heard down the road as well, which is really handy.
And over in Perth, the fast-growing Northwest Corridor, the same story is unfolding. So we've got a community there in Amberton Beach, and they've got new extensions coming, like the Metronet train line. That one is nicely located, close to the water. We're a bit further out here, but here we're talking about other things that are great about this community.
Yeah. Scott, for WA, are there any other infrastructure projects you're really excited about? So the train line sounds great.
Yeah, that's had the biggest impact in that northern corridor, right through the access to Yanchep. Offhand, the Tonkin Highway extension, airport access is important to FIFO workers. So
yes, we've got the train finally. We beat Melbourne and got an airport train.
Yeah, so those are in that northeastern corridor. That's really important to the fly in, fly out community, being able to access the airport. So, other than infrastructure, the actual amenities, I live quite close to Amberton. Years ago, people of Perth, it was all about how close you could be to the city. But now I think with the infrastructure and amenities along that northern coastal, you don't need to go into Perth. There's so much to explore and as a family up there. Yeah,
I've seen some really impressive, like very random, but I've seen some very impressive playgrounds around Alkimos. Yep. They seem to do them very well. Very big and grand, which is very cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice area, Alkimos. Yeah. And they've got Alkimos Central upcoming, a future hub for retail, education and employment.
Oh, awesome. Very exciting. So many shopping centres. Tyler, what about Victoria? What are buyers most excited about in terms of infrastructure projects?
There's a couple of big ones that are getting pretty close. So anyone that's driven out to the western side of Melbourne is pretty keen for the Westgate Tunnel project to be finished, which will free up a lot of traffic heading out to the west and a lot of our western growth suburbs. Another one is the Melton train line upgrade that's taking place at the moment. Lots of the new developments and new communities are occurring along that train line, which is going to help them immensely. One of those being Atherstone Estate, which Stockland are delivering that community and doing a really great job. So there's some really exciting ones upcoming.
Yeah, it's crazy how just a single train line seems to make such a difference to so many of these communities. Summer, do you have an example for us of a suburb or a development or an estate that's already boomed?
Another great example is Highlands in Melbourne's Northern Corridor. So Highlands has been around for more than 20 years, and that suburb has really boomed over this time. It's a fully established neighbourhood that still attracts a range of buyer types. So first home buyers, upgraders, downsizers, investors. We see a lot of people there referring customers and buying again, which is a really good...
Buying again?
Yeah,
wow.
Buying again in the community. It's a really good insight that they really enjoy where they live there and they've created a really strong community.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Tyler, what do you see as the next hotspots in Victoria?
Yeah, so it really depends on the individual strategy of the person purchasing. However, there are opportunities around population centres that already have quite a lot of infrastructure and amenity in place. Perhaps a corridor like a Werribee, for example, in Victoria. Alternatively, if they're looking for maybe some potential longer term capital growth opportunity, there's newer growth corridors. The southeast has always been a strong performer in Melbourne, and there's a new corridor in Pakenham East where there's a lot of new communities popping up at the moment. One of them is a Stockland community called Averley, where there is the potential for some longer term growth as well.
Yeah, Averley's a great choice in the southeast. It's surrounded by some beautiful amenity, and it is very picturesque, that location with the rolling hills in the background, but also very close to already existing shopping centres like Pakenham and Officer, and they're not too far away from Berwick and surrounds.
Are there any other WA areas you're really excited about?
So WA, it's an interesting one. We're seeing a similar story of that popularity in Perth's northern corridor. Communities like Iliari in Sinagra, they're gaining strong traction because that thoughtful planning, the balance of convenience and lifestyle, it's close to existing amenity already, such as Wanneroo Central, schools and transport. So it's a really great option for purchasers to consider their lifestyle.
Yeah, there's hotspots in every corridor in Perth at the moment. I'd say southeast you've got Mundijong, Byford, the northwest coastal, so Amberton, Alkimos, really strong demand out there. For me though, a hotspot I think to look out for is East Wanneroo. So we just had the launch of the Stockland Scrivelia, which is exciting. I think that'll be its proximity to Perth. It's not right on the coast, but it's only a short drive. But I think there'll be some real strong demand in East Wanneroo for the future.
There's a big conversation around rent vesting. So buying where you can afford and where it might be able to grow, and then renting where you want to live. I personally do this. I own property in Perth and Brisbane, and I live and rent in Melbourne. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this?
On rent vesting? Yeah, rent vesting provides a great opportunity for people that want to live in a certain location but do really want to get into the market. That being said, there is also a great opportunity to purchase somewhere with a great lifestyle that provides potential growth opportunity and live there as well. So if you have a look at some of the master plan communities that are coming up, you can actually have it all if you're willing to look at different locations. But in summary, rent vesting is a great opportunity to get into the market.
Scott, what's your take on this for WA buyers who might be trying to balance capital growth versus lifestyle factors?
Yeah, I agree with what Tyler's just outlined there. Rent vesting has its place. If you look at the communities now, you can have it all. The livability in those areas is unreal, and I think we've seen clients come into the Home Buy Centre with a view to build an investment property and then take handover, end up living there because they see exactly what the opportunities are in those estates. So yeah, pros and cons, but if you're looking at short-term yield versus long-term growth, it just depends on what your strategy is.
It's been so insightful to learn about new developments. Scott, what's one tip you have for new buyers?
Tash, I would say a tip for particularly first home builders coming into the market is that when you're on a budget, give careful consideration to what's available in the master plan communities when you're looking at block sizes. So a smaller block with a clever design can really help you get into the market. And the example I would use to clients is you may not have a big backyard, but you have a beautiful nature reserve right nearby where you can walk your dog, and just give that consideration as a way to get into the market on a budget.
That's a really good tip, and it's also awesome if you're close to those amenities or close to the train station.
Yeah.
Summer, what's a tip you have from a developer's perspective?
It's an interesting point you make, Scott, and we're seeing a lot of preferences change over time, particularly post-COVID, where people realise they don't need that extra space in their home because they're getting so much from their community, and that's really important for us at Stockland and working with builders as to how we can deliver that for the community so that they have more options available to them. But a tip from me is that location is critical. So choosing a developer and a builder that you trust and finding a place where you can see yourself living, whether it be today or for your future. You know, if you're a customer looking to purchase a dog in the future, thinking about the parks that are surrounding. If you've got children that are growing up, where are they going to go to school, where you work and how you can get to work. There's a range of things to consider, but these are critical ones.
Some of the new communities feel very far away. What would you say to new buyers who are concerned about the distance?
I'd really encourage, as a tip to purchase in general, but particularly with getting over that reservation of maybe distance from the city, is just go for a drive through said developers' previous work and previous communities that they've delivered. So, for example, a Stockland community that's quite far along in its journey is Highlands in Melbourne's north. And if you drive through Highlands, you'll get a real feel for that as a community and a place where you can work, live, play. It might not be 5 kilometres from the city, but you've got everything there that you need to have a great lifestyle and a great living experience.
The other thing we're seeing is that a lot of our residents have actually come from the surrounding area. So they don't necessarily need to be travelling to the city. Particularly, for example, here in the southeast, we're finding a lot of our purchasers have grown up in the area. They want to remain in this area. And they're either, a first home buyer able to get into a new community, or an upgrader purchasing a new home and building their dream.
Yeah, hybrid and remote work has made it a lot easier to not have to live so close to the city. If you're just commuting in 1 or 2 days a week, or if you're fully remote, then you can have your pick of the location, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. And we see a lot of what we call community heroes purchasing at our communities. So those are, the nurses, the doctors, the teachers that live in the area.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us, Summer, Tyler and Scott. We've covered so many things like the hotspots, potential hotspots, and why location really matters. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Up next, we're talking about design choices and how they will boost your lifestyle but also improve your home's value. The information discussed in this podcast is provided for general information purposes only and reflects opinions based on information available at the time of recording. It should not be relied upon as financial, legal, or professional advice. You should make your own inquiries and seek independent advice tailored to your circumstances before making any decisions. Views expressed by third parties are their own and do not necessarily represent those of Stockland. To the maximum extent permitted by law, Stockland accepts no liability for any loss or damage arising from reliance on this content. This information does not consider your personal needs and financial circumstances, and you should consider whether it is appropriate for you. Lender terms and conditions apply and may vary. All financial services provided by Resolve Financial Solutions Pty Ltd, trading as Resolve Finance, ABN 65079545 Australian Credit License Number 385487. The building practitioner is ABN Group Pty Ltd, trading as Home Buyer Centre